Yeah, no, like again, it was organic. The success was organic. The initial idea was Dave trying to supplement, his free time when he wasn't doing bigger commissions. Hey, let me use my time in the studio to create small pieces,
Right.
as well as pieces that collectors are going to want. These small pieces, which is the wet paint pieces, are very affordable. And that was the initial idea. Like, hey, and the collaborations with his friends. There's a lot of friends, like again, relationships he knows worldwide, but in New York, because he's been coming to New York for decades. He had a lot of old friends and some new artists he had met. So it was like, oh, I do this cool collabo, have some fun, and then, hey, we'll put it on his website. They were selling,
Yeah.
and then again the gallery show. It just came to me, and then I was like, yo, Dave, and then we brought in generations of New York graffiti writers from the basically 70s guys to the present. So that was a shocker, and then it did well. Here's a celebration opening, and things are selling, and all organic.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, oh my God, we're trying to make money or whatever. It's like, I mean, of course the gallery says, because he got paid a bill.
Yeah, he's got.
But we really was just trying to like.
We in it because we love it.
We love it. You know what I
We're
mean?
happy when we get a card back and we're like, yo, this artist just smashed this.
And more people becoming part of it.
Yeah.
Was exciting, and they were excited to be a part of it. And then it just took off. People were really reaching out to him like a lot, like all over the place.
Yeah.
And then, so the second show was Japan.
So we did Japan, and then we did Philly right
We
after
did
that.
Philly.
In between Shanghai. So I was asked to do Shanghai. I said yes, and then
So digitally,
Philly.
was building Shanghai.
I was building out Shanghai, and then I get a phone call from Philly, and we're like, we want to do a clothing capsule with you, and we want to do a show with you. This company, Lapstone and Hammer, is going to create a clothing capsule. I go, I'll design it. And then I reached out to Wayne. I said, hey, here's an opportunity to do the fashion thing, because we come from fashion. He did fashion for, with Riders Bench and Puffy, Sean John and all that stuff. I did all this skate stuff, that became huge. And that's a love of ours. We love fashion. You can't tell it because we're building out a spot. But even though
We're still fashionable.
we still have it.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so here's an opportunity, because when I envision something, I think like, okay, this could be like an art show, but like really, this could be an opportunity for us to build out capsules and stuff like that. But Wayne would come out with great ideas of like, yo, if we're going to Philly, we got to mess with this artist, because of this reason, and bringing that aspect into it and that fold into it, just gave a lot of shine on us because of that artist's legacy, and we're thankful for that, and we're stoked to be able to hand over a transaction and hand off money to our artist friends, because we're all trying to make it.
Right, we all want the same thing, and it's our job. We feel, especially that we've been doing it this long, and now that we're way over our 40s, it's like we're trying to we're trying to teach, inspire, and also prop up artists that we know are talented.
Yeah.
That the art world, whether it's graffiti or street art or public art, they overlook it because they don't know the history. They just arrived in our community, in our culture. So it takes guys like us to say, well, that artist is amazing.
Yeah.
But why aren't they're not getting more shine? And even though wet paint, we're putting light on many artists, it brings them into the world, and we're hoping, and we know that artists after that have been called by other people. So we're putting some light, a little bit of light on them, because it's not just me, Dave, and one artist. It's
Right.
me, Dave, and
Hundreds.
100 artists, hundreds of artists.
Yeah.
But it brings them into the community, and then it puts some light on it. People are looking in around the globe now. It's not just New York or LA or Philly or wherever. When we do a show, the whole world's tapped in. It's crazy. Like sometimes online, the sales are like in seconds. You know what I mean? I mean, the show in Atlanta, people were buying stuff. Before we put the bell out there, they were like already, their money was already coming through.
I'm already being hit up for this show.
Yeah,
You know, oh, how much for that piece? I can't answer that.
Yeah,
I can't.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's exciting,
Yeah.
and these artists get a chance, and I'm sure they get commissions from that, and we know from our own experience, you know, before wet paint, doing jobs and coming from fashion, you know, the skate world, you know, streetwear, urban world, whatever you want to call it, you know, that when we got an opportunity to design something, because actually selling pieces of art in the 80s and the 90s was very hard for young artists. So that's why we turned to designing. That's why we turned to graphic design and cut and sew, and Dave was doing shoe design. And that was a way to make money and still keep our street name out on the street. Like, we still go painting in the week. While we were designing and we were in the office, air conditioned,
Yeah.
we were still on the street painting.
I may be sitting at my desk working on a new logo for DC, but like really, you know, over here I'm working on my outline for the next time I go out and paint. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was right. We ride multiple roads at once. You know, like the great thing is that we had that opportunity to work in and have a job like a graphic artist and art director or creative directors in these industries, and it allowed us to be who we are at the core. And that was what was attractive to the owners of these companies, especially when it came to me. They loved that I was PERSUE and that I had the street cred as a graffiti writer. And that was bringing legitimacy into their companies, not to mention the talent that I had, was I was able to put back out into theirs because it became big money for them. I mean, some of these companies sold their companies for, you know, $500 million. $250 million, you know,
And the funny thing is, most companies have artists like us, and it doesn't say, when PERSUE designs a capsule or whatever, it doesn't say PERSUE. If I design something for a brand, it doesn't say Wayne. So with our own brands, Writer's Bench, Wet Paint, you know, Bunny Kitty, you know, that allowed us, people to go, oh,
yeah,
well, PERSUE's behind that. Oh, Wayne's behind that. Like, and also inspire young people to strive to be designers, you know. But while we were in the business, we learned a lot about how to do business. So when we wasn't just artists, we were artists, but we sat in a lot of very important meetings with, you know, the people that ran the, you know, the owners and people that ran the business itself.
We were around some really smart people.
Yeah. You know, we saw how they worked with production, with the factories. We saw how they worked with stores that had, you know, like chain stores. We saw how they worked with independent stores. So we learned how to move in that world, you know. And that when we get to this point, you know, we learn so much that now we're able to say, oh, well, this is what we want to do with artists that we love. And we made something. We made it. We made the business aspect of it easy. 1, 2, 3. That way, artists like ourselves can be like, oh yeah, okay, PERSUE, okay, Wayne. Oh, that's cool. I'm down for that. You know, instead of it's like this contract and this ill percentage, and you know, they don't understand it.
It's a movement created by writers for writers.
Exactly.
You know,
right.
And we're looking out for each other as much as we possibly can. You know,
it's small business.
Yeah, it's
but
small
in the
business.
end, it's a domino effect to bigger business. Even if wet paint doesn't be the next biggest thing, which it could be easily, right? Because organically people love it, and that just a lot of brands we work with. That's how success came. Because even though they wanted it, if they had a good idea and they had a good team, it just happened, right? Timing. So, but we inspire so many people. It's like there's always something that comes from that. There's people wanting to do the next wet paint stuff. People hit up Dave sometimes. It's funny, like not wet paint. They got an idea, but it's based on wet paint. Oh, you gotta do, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's funny, but we can only hope that's good. That's good because we're doing good. We're doing something
it's
good
just
here.
because we're doing something good that people recognize and they want to, you know, do something good for themselves.
Yeah.
And that at the end of the day is, like I said, part of our job as artists is to inspire. Well, we've been to different cities in the United States. We started off in New York. We
Did Philly.
We did Philly, and then we've done Atlanta. We've done Miami. International shows we've done
Japan,
Japan and Tokyo, Shanghai and China.
Yeah.
Canada,
Yeah.
Winnipeg.
Yeah.
This show.
Yeah.
And
We're here now doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it now. We're building out the show. It looks beautiful. It's probably seriously one of my favorite installations we put together.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Well, the space is nice.
Oh, the space is perfect for what we're doing.
The graffiti program space is incredible.
It's incredible. So we're happy to be here and sharing that with.
We got Virus with us, one of our closest homeboys.
Yeah.
You know, we got
Legendary
old boy Melon with us. You know, we got our boy Souls. We got Pat Lazo. And a lot of locals with us. That's the key to I feel the success is every city we go to, we try to dig up the locals, the local talent, and show it to the world.
That's been really important. We feel, looking into the future, of course, Europe. I'm always talking to Wayne, we need to do a multi-stop tour across Europe,
Paris,
Oslo,
well, we did a little something.
We did a little jump off.
We did a little something in Oslo. We almost forgot about that. Sorry,
it wasn't a wet paint show, but it was an installation. You guys did your live airbrush.
Yeah.
We did a mural, a wet paint mural. We were represented. They were celebrating.
They were psyched about it, and they want to bring back the show.
Yeah.
What happens? They contacted Dave, and they wanted to do the merch for a hip hop event with kids, right? And we feel like, oh yeah, cool. They want to pay us for the licensing, but our whole thing is like we like to go places and touch people, and we have been to Oslo many times.
Yeah, we have history there from the 90s.
And we have guys down with us, crew and artists. We have it all in Oslo, right? So the thing was like, wow, we're just gonna, give these guys the licensing without going there would seem kind of funny, So they was like, I was like, let's do the airbrush thing, which is a thing that I used to do. It was like my first entrepreneurship when I was like 19. We used to pop out the airbrush. I don't know if people know what an airbrush is, but like, a lot of your girlfriends or wives get their nails done with airbrush now. So it's like a pen gun with the ink. Very similar to spray paint. And you paint on a t-shirt. It was big in the late 80s and early 90s.
It's become somewhat collectible now. People are getting the pieces.
Yes, it's coming back.
It's back.
So people roll up to a booth and just come up with an idea in their head, their name or their son's name or something, and we just do it right on the spot.
Yeah.
So we did that.
And we branded wet paint.
And we branded wet paint. We had hoodies and T-shirts with the wet paint logo.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Great.
It was
They
great.
loved it, right?
They loved it, and we did a mural, that Dave designed.
Yeah.
Just like what we did out there, and then we talked about a show, but still we were coming out of the pandemic. Still, this was 2022 last year.
Yeah.
So we're still so
that was our first European.
That was our first, yeah. But we had talked about Europe before that.
Oh,
Paris.
We talk about
Norway,
a bunch of places. Yeah,
Sweden,
Italy, Germany, Berlin.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure that out, but I think that also in America we definitely want to do Los Angeles.
Yeah. He's saying L.A.
And I'm thinking L.A.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm thinking Oakland or L.A. because there's so much history there.
Yeah.
And so many friends there, and such an amazing, just movement.
Could be the best turnout, we think.
Yeah. So
Philly was really like over the top.
It was a small show, but the collection of the clothing and the artists involved. I mean, there was a line out the door.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So we hope to do that in cities, in the States, have that same feel, and in Europe we want to go big. It's all about partnering up with the right people.
Yeah.
I won't say gallery always, but the thing with wet paint is that like Dave has always wanted to give the artists as much as we can give them, percentage wise, and then a lot of galleries that approach us, they want a big percentage, and then it's like, well, we're doing all the work.
Yeah.
So it gets, we're trying to find that middle ground.
We like the idea of looking in the future and thinking, we could just pop up and produce it ourselves, and then give the artists a better percentage, and we create the capsule, and the capsule fuels the fashion.
Right.
And it all fuels each other.
Each one teach one.
Absolutely.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
it always is.
The energy is a creative energy. It's an artistic energy for the most part. And especially when dealing with artists. And when you have that synergy and that energy, like, it's magic.
Yeah, when we see what they do with the wet paint signs that we give them, we get excited and want to do more. So absolutely.
And then they get hyped because they're in, like they're in a show like Wet Paint with maybe, individuals that they've watched,
For decades.
for decades, or build Wet Paint and the trajectory, and they see that Wet Paint is a brand, started by writers, owned by writers, and created by writers, and you're looking at them.
Our whole thing is to really inspire people in this point in our career, is like we're teachers, and we're inspiring people
Right.
with the business aspect of all the experience we have learned. Because some artists, and they haven't had the journey we've had. We've been blessed to travel and paint at festivals, but also work with brands and building brands and learning how the business work and be
Yeah.
able to develop our own
Yeah.
products. I mean, when it comes to wet paint and Bunny Kitty, Dave's developed you got blow up dolls,
Yeah.
you got
Toys, fashion, all sorts of stuff, top to bottom shoes,
Yeah.
licensing deals.
it's
But for
it's
me,
not
it's
just
like-
a T-shirt anymore.
I just want to encourage the artists, whether maybe they're older artists or
Young
maybe they're
artists.
young,
Yeah.
like
Maybe they're artists that are hobbyists
Yeah.
that turn professional.
yeah, encourage
artists.
them to find their lane,
Right.
because we're Wet Paint, like we own it, that's our thing, like we did what we needed to do to put everything in place so we could continue to tell the story from a writer's perspective about our movement and about our friends and the people that we've built with and that we're going to build with in the future.
The thing about it is, as we go, as time passes, like I said before, it hasn't been documented to the point that I think there's so many young people and so many new people wanting to know, so many people wanting to collect, right? And they come into the galleries, they go to Wynwood, and Art Basel, they travel the world, they go to Paris, they go to the art fairs, and the thing about it is they don't really know, they're not educated, right? And we can't blame them. We can only blame ourselves, right? So there is some stuff that they can Google right away, and there's some documentaries and movies, but really it's not that much. So Wet Paint, we're able to do that, and our individual experiences, Dave being a guy from the West Coast and I'm being like this guy from the East Coast, and we being these guys that met in the 90s and also traveling to Europe and getting these invites in Europe and different parts of the world and doing these festivals that just have to do with writing, separate from the streetwear and the design stuff we're doing, right? What has happened is we have the experience to educate people in the different decades.
Right.
How it grew. You know what I mean? We wasn't there at the beginning in the 70s.
Yeah.
So we learned from some of the artists that we know from back then. We don't know everything, but then at a stage, we've been there.
We were plugged in.
Yeah.
And we've been plugged in for decades.